Picture a world not of humans, but of hives. A world where cities are not built of glass and steel, but of resin and soil. Where language is not spoken, but breathed into the air as chemical signals. Where individuality does not exist, only the hive. This is not science fiction. This is the world that might have been if humanity had evolved from ants. To imagine a world where humans evolved from ants, we must first understand the extraordinary blueprint that already exists. Ants are among evolution's most successful experiments. Tiny, yes, yet their collective power shapes forests, grasslands, and deserts across the planet. There are more than 12,000 known species of ants, each adapted to a different role in Earth's ecosystems. Leafcutter ants farm fungus with agricultural precision, predating human farming by tens of millions of years. Weaver ants sew leaves together with silk spun from their larvae, constructing treetop fortresses. Army ants march in living rivers, consuming everything in their path, their colonies on the move like unstoppable armies. Across every continent but Antarctica, ants thrive, reshaping the land beneath our feet. Their strength is not in the individual. A lone ant is fragile, almost insignificant. But ants are eusocial, a rare evolutionary strategy where the survival of the group outweighs the survival of the self. It is this strategy that has made them dominant. In their societies, every member has a purpose. Queens lay eggs, workers forage, nurture young, and engineer the nest. Soldiers defend. Even within a single colony, roles can shift as the colony's needs change. No single ant controls the others, yet the colony behaves as though it has a mind of its own. The scale of their success is staggering. Scientists estimate that the total biomass of ants on Earth rivals, and perhaps exceeds, that of all humans combined. For every one of us, there are at least 1 million ants. Their hidden empires tunnel through soil, aerating land for plants, dispersing seeds, and recycling nutrients. Entire ecosystems depend on them, though most of us rarely notice their work. But what is most remarkable is their coordination. Ants communicate not with sound or words, but with chemicals, pheromones, invisible trails that paint instructions across the world. Through these signals, they can organize complex raids, navigate mazes, and build structures that dwarf their size. It is a form of collective intelligence that rivals our own social systems, decentralized, resilient, and efficient. This is the foundation, the architecture of their world. If humanity had emerged from such creatures, our biology and our societies would not resemble the individualistic, primate-driven model we know today. Instead, they would be shaped by this ancient eusocial blueprint, a world where unity eclipses individuality and survival is written not in the story of one, but in the destiny of the many. The leap from ant to human may seem impossible. After all, ants are insects, small, cold-blooded, armored in chitin, with nervous systems that could fit inside the head of a pin. We are mammals, warm-blooded, fleshy, vertebrate giants with brains vast by comparison. The gulf is almost unthinkable. Yet, in evolution, impossibility is only a matter of time and circumstance. Life does not plan, it experiments. Over billions of years, it has rewritten itself in forms stranger than fiction. Fish grew legs and walked upon the land. Reptiles gave rise to birds. Simple bacteria transformed the Earth's atmosphere. And once, tiny shrew-like mammals evolved into us, beings capable of language, technology, and self-reflection. So what if ants had been given the same chance? For them to walk the road toward intelligence, several evolutionary thresholds would need to be crossed. The first, size. To house a larger, more complex brain, a body must grow. And in Earth's past, insects did grow. During the Carboniferous period, over 300 million years ago, oxygen levels soared to nearly 35%, far higher than today's 21%. With more oxygen diffusing into their bodies, Giant dragonflies with wingspans the size of hawks filled the skies, while millipedes stretched over 2 meters long across the forest floor. In that ancient world, it is not impossible to imagine ant-like ancestors expanding beyond their miniature scale. Larger bodies mean larger nervous systems, and with greater neural complexity comes the possibility of higher thought. The second threshold, social structure. Ants already possess one of nature's most advanced cooperative systems. A single colony functions almost like a superorganism, many individuals acting as one. If evolution had pushed them toward larger size and greater neural power, this social framework could have provided the stability for intelligence to flourish. Where primates built tribes, ant beings would build hives, vast, ordered societies where survival depends on absolute cooperation. The third threshold, communication. Our ancestors' mastery of language transformed survival into culture, passing knowledge across generations. Ants already communicate with astonishing sophistication, though not with sound, but with chemistry. Invisible pheromone trails guide foragers, summon armies, even mark the dead. If such chemical communication had evolved further, perhaps into complex combinations of scents and signals, it might one day rival the richness of human speech. To us, silent; to them, a symphony. Finally, the threshold of consciousness. Here we tread into speculation. Could a brain built on an insect's foundation ever achieve self-awareness? Some scientists argue that consciousness is not limited to mammals or birds, that it may arise from any sufficiently complex network of neurons. If so, there is no reason why insect-descended beings, given enough time and the right conditions, could not one day awaken. And look at the stars. In this alternate history, the road of evolution bends not toward primates, but toward insects. Ants, masters of cooperation, survivors of hundreds of millions of years, could have become the architects of intelligence, and with them, an entirely new kind of humanity, insectoid, eusocial, and utterly alien. If humanity had arisen not from primates, but from ants, our bodies would be unrecognizable. To envision such beings, we must fuse biology with imagination, guided by the rules of evolution itself. First, the body. Instead of soft, fleshy skin, we would be armored in chitin, a lightweight but remarkably strong exoskeleton. It would glisten in shades of black, red, or metallic bronze, resistant to cuts, blows, even radiation. Muscles would attach not to an internal skeleton of bone, but to this hardened outer shell, making us stronger for our size, capable of lifting many times our body weight, just as ants do today. Our form would likely remain segmented. Head, thorax, abdomen, 3 distinct sections, evolved for different functions. 6 limbs would sprout from the thorax. 4 adapted into powerful legs for running and climbing, while the front pair might evolve into dexterous arms, equipped with jointed claws or multi-fingered appendages for fine manipulation. Imagine hands with both strength and precision, capable of sculpting stone, weaving silk, or forging tools with insectile grace. The head would be a marvel of alien design. Instead of smooth human eyes, vast compound lenses would dominate the face, each made of thousands of tiny facets. These would not give the sharp, detailed vision we enjoy, but a panoramic awareness of movement, perfect for detecting danger in every direction. Some ant species can even see polarized light, navigating by the sun's position across the sky. An ant-human might never be lost. But sight would not be their dominant sense. Smell and taste would be far more powerful. Twin antennae would rise from the forehead, alive with receptors. Every shift of the air would carry meaning, pheromones, hormones, invisible trails of information. Communication would not rely on words vibrating through air, but on scents woven like messages. To us, this world would be silent. To them, it would sing with 1,000 hidden voices. Their metabolism would also differ. Ants today rely on specialized diets. Some farm fungus, others drink nectar, Many live on scavenged prey. Scaled to human size, ant-descended beings might require immense amounts of energy to sustain their muscular exoskeleton and active lifestyle. Their cities would need constant supplies of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, not unlike our own, but gathered with relentless efficiency. And reproduction. Here the differences grow even stranger. In ant societies, only the queens reproduce. Workers and soldiers live not for themselves, but for the genetic legacy of their mother. If such a system persisted in ant humans, entire civilizations might revolve around queens, vast matriarchs giving birth to thousands of offspring, while worker castes and soldier castes carried out the duties of life. Gender, as we know it, would be irrelevant. Individual families might never exist. Instead, the hive itself would be the family, one vast organism of countless bodies. Even aging could be different. In many species, queens live far longer than their workers, decades compared to mere months. An ant-human queen might rule for centuries, her will shaping generations. Ordinary hive members might live only a few years, their purpose predetermined at birth, their lives offered entirely to the colony. This is not humanity as we know it. It is a vision of life reshaped by eusocial design, armored, multi-limbed, chemically connected. A species not of individuals but of living pieces in a greater whole. Alien, yes, yet in their own way, perhaps more efficient than us. With bodies adapted for strength, senses tuned to chemistry, and a society shaped by eusocial order, what kind of civilization would ant humans build? To imagine their world is to step into a vision both alien and astonishing. First, their architecture. Human cities rise above ground, towers of stone, steel, and glass. But ant humans, descended from master engineers of the soil, would build downward. Their civilizations would stretch deep beneath the earth, labyrinths of chambers, tunnels, and ventilation shafts. Not random burrows, but vast underground metropolises, layered like cathedrals, efficient as machines. Some chambers might glow with bioluminescent fungi, cultivated for light. Others would hum with heat regulation systems built from nothing but earth, air, and instinct. Above ground, entrances would be fortified with resin, mud, and hardened secretions, living fortresses, blending into the landscape. Food production would not resemble our agriculture. Ants today already farm. Leafcutter ants cultivate fungus with meticulous care, while others herd aphids for their sweet secretions. Scale this up, and ant humans would be masters of bioengineering. Their fields might be fungal gardens tended in subterranean halls. Their herds might be colonies of insects or genetically shaped organisms, designed not by technology as we know it, but by selective breeding and chemical manipulation. Their science would not begin with fire and metallurgy, but with life itself. Communication would shape their politics. Where humans debate with words, ant humans would coordinate through chemical signals. Instant, collective decision-making. Imagine a council not of individuals arguing, but of beings exchanging sense that merge into a single conclusion. No hesitation, no dissent, only unified action. Democracy, monarchy, republic. These human terms may not even apply. Their governance would be a hive mind of consensus, driven by pheromone symphonies only they could perceive. But such unity comes at a cost. In our world, creativity often springs from conflict, from individuals challenging the norm. In an ant-human hive, individuality might be suppressed. Innovation would emerge not from a lone genius, but from the hive itself. Slow, deliberate, but unstoppable. Their technology might advance differently. Fewer sudden revolutions, more steady refinements, perfected across generations. And what of warfare? Ants in nature are no strangers to conflict. Colonies battle for territory, sending waves of soldiers to clash in organized chaos. Ant humans, with strength and eusocial discipline, would be formidable. Wars might not be fought by small armies, but by entire castes bred for combat. towering soldiers with reinforced armor and enhanced strength, born for nothing but defense of the hive. Unlike our wars of strategy and chance, theirs would unfold like the movements of a single organism, precise and relentless. To face them in battle would be to face the will of an entire civilization at once. Culture, too, would take a form alien to us. Would they create art? Perhaps not in the human sense of individuality, but as collective expression. Their art might be the harmony of perfectly woven structures, the fragrance of chemical symphonies designed to evoke shared emotion, or living sculptures grown from fungi and resin. Music, painting, literature, these might never exist as we know them, yet their society would still be rich, filled with a collective beauty beyond our comprehension. Even spirituality might follow a different path. Where humans ask about gods, souls, and the self, ant-humans may see no self at all. To them, the hive would be the soul, eternal, vast, with each individual life just a cell in something greater. Immortality for them would not be personal, but communal. As long as the hive endures, the individual has lived forever. This civilization would be one of unparalleled unity, resilience, and order. A world of endless hives, subterranean empires, and perfect synchronization. Different from our own in almost every way, and yet, in its own alien logic, perhaps just as advanced. On the surface, the world of ant-humans might appear flawless, order without chaos, unity without division, a civilization without crime, greed, or selfishness. Every individual would know their purpose, and every action would serve the greater whole. But perfection, in nature, always comes at a cost. The first cost is individuality. In our world, every human is unique, with personal dreams, ambitions, and desires. We write stories, paint canvases, compose music not because survival demands it, but because self-expression is a part of being human. In a hive, such impulses would be suppressed, perhaps never even imagined. Why create a painting when the hive requires more food? Why write a poem when the hive needs soldiers? In the cold logic of survival, beauty and imagination may have no place. The second cost is freedom. Humans can choose to break from society, to rebel, to wander, to think differently. That freedom often fuels discovery, from fire to flight, from philosophy to physics. An ant-human might never question their role. If born a worker, they would live as a worker. If born a soldier, they would die as a soldier. There would be no inventors dreaming alone in candlelight, no scientists chasing questions for curiosity's sake. Knowledge would arise only when the hive needed it. Their progress, though steady, might be bound by the needs of survival, not the sparks of genius. The third cost is compassion, not in the absence of care, but in its scale. In our species, compassion often extends beyond bloodlines and nations. We imagine equality, justice, human rights. We fight for strangers we will never meet. But in a hive, morality might begin and end with the colony itself. Other hives, other queens, might be viewed not as fellow beings, but as rivals, to be conquered or eliminated. Their unity may be absolute, but only within the walls of their hive. Outside, the world might be locked in endless war. Even death itself would feel different. In our societies, we mourn individuals. We carry their stories forward. In an ant colony, death is ordinary. A worker falls, and another takes its place. The hive endures, while the individual is forgotten. If humanity carried this view, the meaning of life and death would be rewritten. Personal legacy, family names, individual histories, all might vanish, replaced by the continuity of the hive. And yet, what we call a weakness, individuality, freedom, imperfection, may also be our greatest strength, because it is individuality that gives rise to creativity. It is freedom that drives discovery. It is imperfection that allows us to imagine better worlds. A hive civilization might be stronger, more orderly, more enduring than ours, but perhaps less alive in spirit. So the question emerges, what truly defines a civilization? Is it its strength and unity, or the sparks of individuality that create art, philosophy, and dreams? In the balance between the hive and the self, our world chose the self, and in doing so, it gave rise to everything we call human. Ants show us what life can achieve when individuality is surrendered for the collective. In their hidden empires beneath the soil, they demonstrate a form of order and resilience that rivals our own civilizations. In imagining a world where humans had evolved from ants, we glimpse a future that could have been, a future of unity without freedom, strength without individuality, survival without art. It is tempting to see such a world as stronger, perhaps even more advanced. A species without crime, without loneliness, without chaos. A species that endures as long as the hive survives. But as we look deeper, we see the cost. The silence of creativity, the absence of self, the loss of dreams that belong not to the many, but to the one. And perhaps that is what makes our humanity so extraordinary. We are imperfect, fragile, often divided. Yet within that imperfection lies the very thing that gives our world color and meaning, our individuality. It is the spark that allows us to paint, to sing, to question the universe, to imagine what could have been, even the very story we've shared today. So as we walk this earth, let us remember, we are not the children of ants. We are the children of chance, of struggle, of improbable survival. And in that gift of individuality lies a responsibility to imagine, to create, and to build, not just for survival, but for meaning. This is Lifinix, nature reimagined through AI. If this journey left you with wonder, join us again as we continue to explore the endless possibilities of life and the fragile, fleeting miracle of being human.